So, good evening, one and all. And today is the last class of Plato's political thought. Properly speaking, it is not a class, it is actually a kind of critical engagement or a discussion on Plato's political thought, especially, uh, you know, how we should evaluate Plato. So, that's why, uh, I have given a title that welcome to a discussion on Plato's political thought, a critical, evaluation. And today, Professor Guru is not a speaker. Rather, I have designated him as a kind of, discussant.
Yes.
So the discussion will start by me. Then, uh, you know, I have given responsibility to my students. I have divided uh, all students of PG, first semester into, six group, and six group they are given the responsibility to, deal with six main, component of Plato's political thought. And what are the main component? What has been discussed by Professor Guru? First component is communism. Second component is philosopher king. Third component is education. Fourth component is human nature. Uh, Fifth main component is justice, and last component is most state. That on these, six broad theme, the discussion, had happened. Professor Guru, deliberated on these, six themes of Plato's political thought. And after I initiate the critical estimation, I will ask the group to initiate, their kind of position, their critical estimation. Either they may express directly by they can use their tongue, or they can write their position on the chat box so that I can convey it to Professor Guru. And if Professor Guru feels to participate, Professor Guru, uh, I know that he will be provoked, and he will participate, and maybe he will add to your critical evaluation. So that's how uh, you know we will practice it, this today's event. So it is not a kind of monologue, it is a kind of I will say many logue. Like, we all will participate. And for this purpose, I have made a PPT. And I made this PPT by following a book written by Amal Kumar Mukhopadhyay. This book is with me. The title of that book is Western Political Thought from Plato to Marx. Amal Mukhopadhyay, he's a good author, from Hyderabad, from Delhi. I have, heard it, students and, professor, they suggest that this is a good book. Right. Now, so let me share my PPT. So I hope that my PPT is visible to all of you. Some bullet points are, made by me, prepared by me. So Plato's political thought, a critical, estimation. Uh, in his concept of justice, uh, it gives us a feeling that Plato seeks to perpetuate status quo of already existing divided society. All these points I am telling you to, develop a spark within you, so that it will help you to, connect yourself with the Plato's political thought. right? So can we say that Plato was in support of status quo of already existing divided society? We need to think about it. Then Plato refuses to recognize the very individuality of individuals because he forces individual to have class character in his or her personality. Right. So how Plato, understand the individuality of individual? Can we limit the individuality of individual to its class character? That is the second, stimulating question so far as Plato's political thought is concerned. Then Plato overrules the possibility of any conflict of individuals with his or her fellow men in society or with those seated at the authority. So if you see Plato's political thought, he seeks for a harmonious society where there is no possibility of conflict. But is it really so? Is it really so that a society uh, is a society possible where there is no conflict? Is a society possible where there will be no conflict between individuals? There will be no conflict between individuals and authority, right? Next point is that his attitude is, Plato's attitude is imbued with an aristocratic temper that is ultimately leads him to totalitarian. Again, can we say that Plato is a totalitarian thinker? Is it really that Plato wanted to establish a totalitarian state? Right. So, uh, ruling by the philosopher king, will it establish a totalitarian state? That is another stimulating question so far as Plato's political thought is concerned. Next point is his communist way of life for ruling class is both impracticable. Even Aristotle, his own disciple, he was not in support of that. For Aristotle, who are the citizens? The property owning classes are citizens. But here, Plato is just saying that the citizens means the men of reason and men of spirit, they should not have any, property or any family. That is what communist way of living. And this communist way of life for ruling class, it is not only impracticable, but also it is immoral. Why it is immoral? Because it is based on physical pleasure without emotion. That is the main point. Earlier I have raised this issue that no doubt appetite is there. Philosopher or ruling class will have physical relation, uh, but their physical relations is emotionless. Right? So that's why it is immoral, right? It's just material. They think that body is a composition of matter, and just material pleasure is more important than uh, you know what I will say, emotion, right? So here one can one say that emotion is immoral, right? In this context, if we are not emotional, maybe we are immoral. Maybe we are immoral in this context. Then the next point is that his high faith on the power of morals may be deeply, problematic. There is possibility that wise men may go wrong. Now, for Plato, one can get the sense that philosopher king can do no wrong because they represent the highest, morality, right? So, for Plato, the power of moral, uh, one should not put question to the power of moral. But is it not problematic? Can we say that the wise man is always right? That wise men, uh, you know, do not do anything wrong, right? After all, we all are individuals. Act of omission, act of commissions are there. Okay, coming to the next slide. Now, all these charges, whatever I have, made are valid against Plato. However, it is senseless to raise hue and cry about them, as he was responding and reacting to the prevailing situation of his time and society. Now, it sounds very good. I mean, whatever, suggestion, whatever prescription, Plato made, he made it seeing the prevailing situation of his time and society. I mean, Socrates was put to, you know, in fact, Socrates was murdered. The philosopher was murdered. And looking at the prevailing situation, Plato suggested, Plato prescribed certain things. So, is there no implication of Plato's political idea? I mean, that is the question we need to ask. That Plato's political idea, uh, you know, does it have any implication today? Now, some of the essence of Plato's ideas have been well imbibed by the modern Western societies. Right. So we cannot say that Plato's idea is totally, irrelevant. There is no implication. Even today, the modern Western societies have imbibed certain essence from Plato's ideas. For example, uh, for Plato, government is a profession that calls for the best physical and mental qualities. The best person must rule. Who is a best person? A best person is one who is physically and mentally very strong, very sound, very judicious, very moral, right? And today, if you see the civil service or civil servants, then you can find that maybe modern societies have accepted Platonic advice, right? So today, uh, to crack the civil service, it is not so easy. For that, you have to be very you have to have good qualities. You have to have a very sound body and sound mind and sound spirit. So without that, you cannot crack the civil service. And the today's civil servant, they are also the part of ruling class in Plato's political philosophy. Now, his theory of idea convey a message that there should not be a purposeless planning of politics. Planning is to be done in the context of an ideal about which the planners must have a clear idea. Now that is another significance of Plato's political thought, that now if you see Plato's political thought, then you can find a message is very clear, that there should be a planning of politics, and that planning must be very purposeful, and this planning must be done with a idea, with a noble idea, and the planner must have a clarity on that noble idea, right? So on a value, planning must be done on, what is the purpose of planning? The purpose of planning is to develop certain values, right? To develop certain values, and planners must be very clearer so far as that values is concerned. They must not be confused, and that is something that we learn from Plato. Now Plato was very much sure that philosopher must be the king and king must be the philosopher. He was sure about it. He was not at all confused. He was having a very clear cut idea on that. Okay, coming to the next slide. His entrust of ruling tasks to guardians and his visualization of a state of things where socially where social and political mobility would be treated as unjust. His justification of mixed fixed station of all individuals seems to be regressive to modern eye, but has modern democratic society in West been able to achieve anything better? Now, many people they criticize Plato's political thought because Plato was trusting guardians. Plato was having a trust that guardians uh, they have the quality ruling, right? And that's why Plato he was not supporting any kind of social and political mobility. So for him, any kind of mobility, it was unjust, right? And Plato justified that each individual is or must be situated in fixed station. So there should not be any mobility. Now, to our modern eyes, right, to modern individual, this seems to be very regressive. A modern mind may not accept this immobility of individuals, right? But is it not relevant to ask this question that uh, today the modern societies what we are experiencing has it achieved anything better? Even today, uh, who are the rulers? It is the elite who are the rulers. And if you see the virtue, if you see the wisdom and morality of those elite, then you will find that as if they do not, or there is a lacking in their personality. These qualities, these values are lacking in their personality, right? So I think Plato, while uh, I will not say that through education it was gained. These qualities of ruling, it was not gained by the education. Education is just to identify whether you are a man of reason or man of spirit, right? For that only education is there. uh, but through education, uh, the best mind was searched. Through education the best mind was searched, and once the best mind uh, was searched, then that best mind was made as a philosopher king. But modern time, we do not search the best mind, right? So that searching is not there. So no doubt rigid restrictions on private life of ruler is immoral, but it is not utterly nonsense. Just before I said that why uh, this restriction on private life or communism, why it is immoral, right? Because there is no emotion. It's just a kind of physical mating without any emotion. So that's why it is immoral. But it is not utterly nonsense, right? Why it is not nonsense? It is because the real selfless service dedicated to the common interest of the society can never grow as long as society's rulers are enmeshed in their attachment of private possession. So as long as rulers are attached with private possession, they will not have any kind of selfless service to the society. Common good of the genuine common good of the society will not be solved. So that's why communism. Uh, I mean, communist way of life for the rulers, it was very much necessary. If you think from the common good perspective, right? So even if it is immoral, but it has its own essence. Now, has Plato wrongly put? These are some of the questions I have asked. Has Plato wrongly put too much importance on the rules of conduct rather than the rules of law? Right? Should modern society take this position of Plato on seriously? Can morally good individuals become politically good as well? Should not modern saints be guided by fundamental laws of the land? Now, these questions are coming if you put your critical mind on Plato's political thought, because for Plato, uh, the conduct of philosopher king is everything. There is no rule of law. What the philosopher king will say, what the philosopher king will do, that becomes the law. So much faith is on the philosopher king, right? But today in modern societies, uh, should we take this seriously or should we take this unseriously? Today, this question is there before us, that morally good individual, can they be good politically speaking? I mean, can they be politically good? If I'm morally good, can I be politically good? Right. So this is the question. It is just before us. And if you apply the same logic today, the saints, I'm not saying false saints, genuine saints, right? Uh, Modern saints, should they be guided by the fundamental laws of the land, or they are above than the rules and regulation? These modern saints are nothing but they are the philosopher king, because they do have some extraordinary qualities with them. Right. Now, in his concept of justice, Plato urged the moral righteousness of everyone, which calls for a strict performance of duties with the principles of functional specialization and non-interference to serve the society. It means it is important for individual to calculate what they receive from the society and they render onto its smooth and successful, functioning or going. Judged in this light, Plato's justice seems to be special charm. Now, this is something very attractive, right? In Plato's political thought, one can find that the moral righteousness of everyone is required. And what is this moral righteousness of everyone? It means if everyone will perform their duties with the principles of functional specialization and with the principles of non-interference, then these individuals can serve the society better. Right. So that's why in Plato's political system, or in Republic, every individual has to calculate what they are getting from the society and what they are contributing to the society. Right. So there is a kind of balance between the rights and duties of the individual. Now, this is something very special in Plato's political thought. But there is also a problem. But this may set a trend of a dangerous practice of moralizing a essentially unjust and unequal society. However, one may argue that the purpose of Plato was to establish a moral society, not a equal society. Now the question arises that can a unequal society be moral? So the moment uh, you will say that individual must have moral righteousness, it means you are supporting this practice of moralizing, and this practice of moralizing is deeply practice of moralizing means what? That each individual has the right to uh, you know moralize the other, right? But in a society where one can find inequalities, in a society where it is based on unjustness, many forms of unjustness, in that society, can this moral practice is fruitful? Can we allow this moralizing, right? So that's why in the last sentence I asked this question that a unequal society, can a unequal society be moral? If there is no equality in this society, can moralizing process uh, ultimately uh, contribute morality to the society? Right. A unequal society, can it be moral? The most disturbing aspect of Plato's political thought is that he has debarred the men of appetite from the status of citizenship. So he has mentioned about men of reason, men of spirit, but he has not defined that who will be the men of appetite. And he has said that men of appetite are subject. But if you see the contribution to the nation state, the contribution is from the men of reason, men of spirit, and men of appetite. Why men of appetite they are debarred from the status of citizenship? Moreover, he has not mentioned about the process of identification of the men of appetite. At the same time, Plato fails to realize that no man is born equipped with a particular type of capacity. His capacities are shaped and deshaped by the constraints and conditions imposed by the society on him. Now, critic, they have, attacked Plato that uh, one individual may have multiple capacities, and all these capacities may not be naturally given to him. Some of the capacities are developed with the constraints and conditions imposed by his or her own society. Right. So these are some of my preparation of critical estimation to Plato's political thought. Now I am moving to Professor Guru. I will, uh, you know, I seek his observation on my, critical estimation. Now, once he will do that, then I will back to my different groups, and I will see how they have prepared and how they have, formulate their observation, comments, question, relevance, the dangers of part of Plato's political thought in contemporary time. So, with this, I am going back to sir.
Yes, my dear students assembled today are listening to the discussions, these web discussions on Plato's political thought. The concluding aspect, as you know, I've already discussed the major aspects and dimensions of Plato's political thought concerning his moral state, the Republic. I've commenced my discussions with Plato's concept of human nature, gradually proceeding step by step to his concept of origin of state, nature of state, concept of philosopher king, concept of communism, concept of education, and ending with the concept of justice. I've discussed all these concepts, though briefly, in 7 classes, last 7 classes. I hope you must have listened to the discussions, re-listened to it, and I believe that you must have been benefited in the context of forming clear ideas and concepts on Plato's political thought. This is the concluding class, no doubt. And in this concluding class, I do not call it a class. As Himanshu has already informed you, this class is now converted into a seminar. So the students and also the teachers who must be listening to it, they must be aware of and they must make a differentiation between a class and a seminar. The teachers must also know it. A class is taken by a teacher in the classroom, and the teacher discusses and explains a concept to the students. And when the discussions are over, when the explanations are over and the concept or the topic, then only a critical estimation of the concept takes place. So in the class, the teacher is not expected to commence his discussions with a critical estimation of the topic. This will create confusion. A classroom teacher must have the presupposition that the students are not aware of the topic. They are not acquainted with the topic. They are novices. So the topic must be introduced to them in details, explained to them by the teacher in the classroom. And when he discusses it, he completes his discussions, then only you invite questions from the students for clarification of their doubts. And the questions may be in the form of clarity concerning the logic or complexities involved in the topic, or concerning their own judgments and opinions or evaluations on the topic. But in a seminar, it is presupposed that the audience knows the topic, they're acquainted with the topic, and therefore the participants start their discussions with a critical estimation, with a critical comment or a remark. So we must make a differentiation between these two aspects, a classroom teaching and a seminar discussion. I've already discussed you on the major concepts of Plato's political thought. In last 7 classes, I've done my best to explain you the essence of Plato ideas. So far as all these dimensions of Plato's concepts and formulations are concerned. Now is the concluding class. Today we are expected to undertake a critical evaluation, a critical estimation. And the critical estimation must be directed towards the concepts which Plato has explained, which Plato has formulated, which Plato has presented to us in the garb of a theory of state or a model of state, the Republic. Therefore, so far as my perception is concerned, we must start with a critical estimation of Plato's ideas or concepts or the theories of state or model state, the Republic, starting with the foundational concept of human nature. Then we shall subject it to critical analysis, to his concept of origin and nature of state, then to his concept of philosopher king, then to his concept of communism, education, and finally justice. But so far as critical estimations are concerned, this may be undertaken in 2 different dimensions. The first dimension relates to subjecting Plato's ideas and concepts to critical scrutiny so as to find out the defects, the inherent defects, the lacunae, the shortcomings, the logical inconsistencies which we may find out in those concepts. And second one is to subject Plato's theory or his model state to a critical scrutiny on the basis of our perceptions of the contemporary societies or modern societies. And we are to assess to what extent Plato's theory of state or his model state is applicable to mankind. The practicability or the practicality of Plato's model is then questioned. And then we shall come to a conclusion as to his contributions. This is the way how we should proceed. Therefore, I urge upon the students to start their critical estimation on Plato's concept of human nature, the foundational concept first. I
So
have
thank you.
listened to
Uh,
I
okay.
have I have listened to Himanshu's discussions and critical estimation, and what I found, all of these critical estimations undertaken by Himanshu may be epitomized on a single point, and that is the practicability or applicability or implementability of Plato's concepts. What about the defects or drawbacks, logical inconsistencies which are involved in Plato's concept? Is it free from logical inconsistencies? What type of a coherent model he has given to mankind for emulation and approximation that you can assess, provided we subject all his essential concepts and ideas to critical analysis. So I urge upon the student to start with their critical analysis of the foundational concept of Plato on human nature. What wrong he says, or where is he wrong?
Okay, sir.
You must
Okay,
point out.
thank you very much. I mean, there are two things. One is the logical inconsistent. Plato's model is based on, it's an ideal, right? Because Plato understand individual from moral sense. Individual is a moral, being. So, what is the inconsistency within that model? And
Yes. What is the
the
defect?
model
What defect do we notice?
and the model what he has provided, even if it is not a complete model, it is a incomplete model. Uh, but that incomplete model, whether it is providing any inputs to the present day practice, right?
Yes.
I mean, today the modern nation state, whether they are following Plato or they are on following Plato. So these two are, you know, these two are is or must constitute the critical estimation. So
Yes.
critical estimation means logical inconsistency within Plato's model, and second, the practicality of Plato's
Yes.
political model today. And my
Yes.
presentation, it was mostly practicality, whether
Yes.
Plato's political model is practicable or not. Right. So it is good. Let me listen to students first. Then further, I will go back. I will justify my position to Guru sir. But I think let me start with the group which has taken the responsibility of critically estimating the human nature of
Yes.
Plato's
Human nature
political
of
thought.
Plato. Yes.
So, so the group which is given this responsibility constitute Satyajit, Namita, Sushant, Bhavana. So all these, 4 or 5 students, they are given this task of critically evaluating the human nature. So may I know this group is present here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, who are your team members? Satyajit, you unmute your video so that we can see your face. It is a
Yes.
discussion actually.
Discussions. This is a seminar of the students, by the
Wow.
students, for the
Video on
students.
କରିବାକୁ କହିଲେ wow.
Satyajit, you just unmute your video. Okay,
Yes.
ଆଜ୍ଞା
great.
ସାର୍ ନମସ୍କାର.
And namaskar. Who are your team members? The team members of Satyajit, it is required that they must unmute their video. Who are the team members of Satyajit? Satyajit, your team members are there with you,
Yes, sir.
but I cannot see their face.
Yes.
Okay, Satyajit, you start.
Do not hesitate. This is a friendly discussions. This is for your benefit. So nothing to be afraid. Come forward. Have the necessary academic commitment within you to develop yourself academically. Yes.
Okay, Satyajit, you have to.
Even if you commit mistakes, come forward with your observations. I'm
No,
here to
he will
help
do.
you.
He is a good student. He will do that, sir. Yes, Satyajit, you start your critical estimation on human nature.
Sir, first of all, I want to know that Plato's perception of human nature could be wrong. Plato perceives man to be inherently rational as the belief that we can use our reason to control desire and appetite. What is that? What is happening with in present era?
Oh, yeah, again, you are going back to the type of critical estimate that Himanshu has already taken, that this is not practicable. We'll come to it later on. First, find out the defects in him, in what he says, what wrong he says, or where is there are defects or lacunar shortcomings or inconsistencies,
Sir, whenever
impreciseness, incoherence.
I mean, in simply, if I'll ask this question, do you agree with the view on human nature given by Plato?
Yes?
no,
Do you agree with?
no,
If
sir.
no, why?
Why?
Sir, because
It is
the
impractical. No. Why you do not agree? What is the logical defect in it?
So let him speak, sir. Let him speak. We'll listen to him.
Yes.
I think it is creating the class between the three regions, region, appetite, and the spirit. It is also led to the class also.
That will come so far as your critical estimation of his nature of state is concerned. But what about his human nature, concept of human nature? First, attack this foundational concept, because it is on this concept that his theory of state is built or designed. So you must attack the foundation first. Find out how weak, logically weak, is Plato's concept, Plato's theory, Plato's model.
What is the foundation of his understanding of human nature?
Yes.
Foundations of human nature is also based on the conscience and consciousness of the human being.
Consent and consensus? No. That is why I repeatedly insist upon all the students to listen to the discussions attentively. Understand the concepts first, listen to it first. Try to understand it so that you can have a clarity of understanding. Otherwise, what you will say will be wrong.
Okay, sir. Let me go back to his team members. So,
Yes.
Satyajit, your team members are with you right now.
Yes, sir.
But I asked them to unmute their video, but they are not yet, done it.
What is the defect with this concept of human nature? Attack it first. That is what is known as critical estimation evaluation first. Then you can come to the practicability.
Okay, Nomita, Susant, and Bhavna, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Namita, what is your position?
Sir?
What is your position? I mean, have you critically evaluated the human nature of Plato?
No, no, sir.
Yes? No.
Okay, Satyajit, if you want to add something.
Sir, as in the previous class, Guru sir also told that knowledge is virtue. The who have the
Come to his concept of human nature first. My question is on human nature. And you attacked it critically.
For Plato, individuals are what? Moral.
Is he
morals.
wrong in his concept of human nature?
No, sir.
Is
If
human
yes,
beings are moral?
yes. If yes, what are the defects? Is he coherent in his concept of human nature?
Yes, sir. Coherent.
Then you do not criticize him. You accept him what he says. Then why do you criticize that it is not applicable? You are wrong then. Don't accept Gorijibo. If you accept him, then there is no question of undertaking critical estimate. Critical estimation or evaluation or analysis involves taking the concepts to find out their logical complexities, logical deficiencies.
It means individuals are not moral. By why individuals are not moral?
as they have the also soul, the appetite in with him. That is why.
Some
Tell me his
individuals are
concept of
guided by
human
the
nature
appetite.
first. You have listened to the discussions on Plato's concept of human nature, what it is first, so that you can make yourself aware of the deficiencies therein. What is Plato's concept of human nature?
Sir, now you deal with that. We don't have much time because we have other aspects to deal with.
Plato's concept of human nature is the foundational concept of his thought concerning his model state, the Republic. And what is this foundational concept? That human nature is the manifestation or reflection of human soul. Soul, which is composed of three natural elements: reason, spirit, and appetite. This is what he says. So, these three elements, reason, spirit, and appetite, taken together, constitute the nature of a human being. These elements are the gifts of nature. Nature has implanted these three elements in individual soul. These three elements have their distinctive qualities, and therefore they motivate the individual to have distinctive propensities. So these three elements are different from one another. They are characterized by distinct qualities, propensities, instincts, tendencies. When you look at it, what do we find? He says of reason, spirit, and appetite. But he doesn't provide us a scheme as to how to measure reason, spirit, and appetite. He's completely silent, and that is the defect with him. He doesn't give us a scheme for measuring the elements of reason, spirit, and appetite present in the soul of an individual. He says only, so his concept is vague. How can the presence of these three elements and their amount be ascertained? How can we say that this individual is a man of reason because of predominance of the element of reason in him compared to the other two elements? How can it be said that this particular individual Y is a man of spirit or individual Z is a man of appetite? It doesn't give any measuring scale, any measuring scheme.
But sir, he is saying that through education, man of reason and man of spirit will be identified.
No, no,
But
no.
he is
That is
silent
also
about.
again vague. No, it cannot be known. That is also vague. I will come to it while discussing his concept of education. It is a vague concept. He never gives us any concrete scheme of measuring it.
Then what is the purpose of education then? The purpose is to
Yes,
identify the man of reason and
the,
man of spirit.
yes, that is what he says. But he fails to give us a scheme of measuring it.
Acha, practically there is nothing to measure. It is just said that.
Even theoretically, he doesn't give us any scheme.
Okay.
Moreover, what he says, that these three elements are qualities of the soul. How qualities be measured? One can measure quantity, but certainly not qualities. Qualities defy quantitative measurement. Though, how can it be ascertained that one is a man of reason, another is a man of spirit, another is a man of appetite? That is the fallacy with Plato. On one hand, says that man of reason is that individual in whom element of reason is present to the greatest amount. How can it be measured? If it is a quality, how can it be measured? Only quantity can be measured, never quality. Quality can be assessed as either good or bad. So it becomes very difficult to understand the logic of Plato. His concepts become vague, incoherent. It is merely his supposition, his belief, his assumption, without any concrete scheme of measuring the man of reason or man of appetite or man of spirit.
So there is no
So
measuring units.
yes, therefore the foundation is extremely weak.
The idea is good, but the
Foundation is weak.
implication of that idea, there is no mechanism.
Yes.
There is no measuring
If
unit.
foundation is weak, if foundation is utopian, if foundation is imaginary, then certainly the superstructure would be imaginary. How can you build a castle on sand? It will collapse. So you attack the foundation first. Foundation is extremely weak. It is speculative, imaginary, utopian. And therefore, Plato's state becomes an utopian state, and he is accused as an utopian thinker. From his concept of human nature, proceed to his concept of origin of state. See,
Okay.
what
So
are the logic?
so let me bring the second group.
Yes.
Gupteswar, are you there? Gupteswar. Gupteswar, you unmute. Okay. Now
Sir, namaskar.
Namaskar. Gupteswar will deal with state. Right. So what is your critical estimation of state?
Sir, in the Platonic concept of state, Plato has described state as a moral and rational institution. But it should be
Yes.
moral and legal institution as well, sir. Where the state will be guided by the two these principle. Then, sir, can we say that Plato has upper emphasis upon the morality and lacks the legality or legal aspect in
What
his
is the
concept of
defect
state?
you find out?
Sir,
What is the defect? Yes.
sir, he has not emphasized upon the legal aspect of the state. He only emphasized upon the moral aspect of the state.
So what is the wrong with emphasizing the moral aspect?
But sir,
What is the wrong?
state should be guided with the two principles, moral as well as legal.
Yes.
Then harmony will be
Also,
established in the
there are
state.
laws. There are laws in Plato's state. Laws made by the philosopher king, assisted by the members of the ruling class. So there are laws. There are regulations. Plato doesn't deny it.
Okay, sir.
So what defect do you find in his concept of nature of state?
That he has overemphasis upon the morality.
Yes.
Overemphasis
Think of
upon the
it.
morality only, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, he has emphasized on morality. So, what defect he has committed? What is wrong with him in saying that it is a moral institution?
He should also describe about the legal
It is
aspect of the
certainly
state.
it is certainly most welcome concept.
Yes, sir.
The morality is the essence of human life. It is morality which differentiates a human being from rest of the animate creation, the beasts. So where Plato is wrong?
But only with the morality we cannot establish idols.
He
Yes,
doesn't
sir.
say so. That only the state is a moral institution. He
Yes, sir.
also makes the philosopher king the ruler of the state and trust him to make decisions, implement them.
Okay, sir.
So where is he wrong? Tell me.
Then
Logically speaking, where is he wrong? Where is he
might be
fallacious? Yes.
might be right, sir.
Okay, let me bring other members of this
Other
group.
members, how can Bhabi Paru Jagande ko? Others who can think of it. This is the reason
Gupta
why I
sir.
insist on clear-cut understanding the fundamental concepts. Then only you can be aware of the problem with the concepts, the defects, the logical inconsistencies in the concepts.
Gupta sir, your
Yes, sir.
team members are there. So anyone
One is there, sir.
who
One
is
is
the
there.
Only
Yes.
one is there.
who?
Manoranjan.
Okay, Manoranjan.
Yes, sir. Sir, namaskar.
Namaskar. What is your thought on it? Where Plato is
Sir,
wrong in his concept of state?
sir, I am not prepared.
Hmm.
Where is it
So
wrong?
now you did.
You listen to.
Yes.
What is the nature of state according to Plato? The nature of state, he defines, he presents as, the state he presents as a moral institution. The state he presents as an organic institution, a class institutions. These are the important aspects of the nature of state, he says. So state is a moral institution. It is very good concept, very welcome concept. And what is the end of the state? Why it is a moral institution? Because the ultimate end of the state is attainment of a life of virtue for the people of the society as a whole. Therefore, it is called a moral institution. This state exists, and this state continue to exist for providing congenial conditions to all members of the state for attainment of a life of virtue. This is the reason why the state has been created by nature. So nature intends that the state must be a moral institution and must function as a moral institution. And what it does, what does it mean by morality? Attainment of a life of virtue. But the problem with Plato is he does not tell us what are the ingredients of life of virtue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He doesn't tell us. He simply says, he assumes life of virtue, a moral life. But what is morality? What are the ingredients of morality? What had to be done for attainment of morality? It doesn't theorize. It doesn't present to us. Simply calling the state as a moral institution without spelling out the ingredients of a life of virtue or morality makes his concept a vague concept. This is the vagueness. And at the same time, what he says, the state is an organic institution with a life of its own. And what is the life of the state? It is the life of the people who compose the state. Therefore, he calls it an organic institution. And he calls it an organic institution because he commences his formulation of the state on the basis of an analogy of human being. The state is the individual writ large, he says. So the qualities of individual soul are reflected in the nature of state. The life of the individual is reflected in the nature of state. And therefore, state is an organic institution, he says. And what type of organic institution it is? It is composed of 3 classes of population. The ruling class, representing the men of region. The military class, representing the element of spirit. And the producing class, representing the element of appetite. These are the 3 classes. The 3 classes which taken together constitute the Plato's state. His ideal state, his republic. But what he does, so far as this organic state of Plato is concerned, he deprives the ruling class from performing the military function or ruling function. He deprives the military class from being associated with the governing function or the producing function. So the military class and the producing class are debarred from the governing function, from discharging governing functions. What would be the consequence? People of these 2 classes or members of these 2 classes, the military class and the producing class, will always remain as aggrieved classes. And moreover, Plato doesn't provide any scope to the individual for occupational mobility. There is complete class rigidity in Plato's state. to harsh rigidity.
So
If
I
you
think the harsh situation is men of appetite, because men of appetite are not considered as the citizen at all.
yes,
Men of spirit and men of reason, maybe they are part of the ruling class. One is part of the military, another is part of the policy making.
but members
No,
members of the military class, if they are not allowed to participate in the governing function, also they will be aggrieved. They will have resentment against the rulers. Members of the producing class, if they are not allowed to participate in the governing function, they will be aggrieved and they will revolt against the rulers. So
Sir,
these
then
two
can we
classes,
consider it as
so members of the military class and members of the producing class together, they constitute an aggrieved group of people who have resentment, who have always resentment against the rulers. In such
no,
a
sir. If
situation,
sir,
how can, in such a situation, how can Plato's organic state will function and will continue to exist? Because there will be constant conflict, antagonisms between these two classes of a population of Plato's ideal state. So the organic nature of this human body would be defeated. It will be frustrated. It cannot be realized. Say, for instance, in our human body, if there would be conflict of interests between the hands, legs, or ears, or eyes, what would be the consequence? Can this human body survive? No. What is
sir, here,
necessary is cooperation. Cooperation among these human different organs. They must be mindful of the interest of the body as a whole while discharging their respective functions. So Plato
sir, here,
identifies the three classes.
sir, here we can understand the organic aspect of the state in two ways. First way, what you are referring, that all individuals will get an opportunity in all functions, right? So there will be no deprivation. That
Yes,
is one way. That is one way. And the second way, it was provided by the Plato. It is based on the functional specialization and principle of non-interference. Now, the men of appetite, uh, they believe in these two principle. Men of reason, men of spirit, they will also believe in this reason. And in this principle. Then only also a organic state can be created.
yes. But there
I
will be
mean,
no harmony. There will be no harmony among them because
right.
these two groups of people are debarred from participation in the governing function.
But yes, now you are saying that if individuals will be aggrieved, if the man of appetite will be aggrieved, man of
Yes,
spirit will be aggrieved, then it means that individuals are not moral because
yes,
they have a interest, right?
yes. They have an
And that
interest.
interest, that interest is that we are the ruler, we can also rule. So why
Yes,
that philosopher king will do that? Why not we? So
yes,
here
certainly.
my confusion is that, okay, all are doing for the national development. Man of reason is working towards national development. Man of spirit is also working national development, and man of appetite is also contributing to the national development, economic,
Yes,
agriculture, production.
yes,
Then why men of appetites are debarred from the citizenship? I think that is very important.
yes,
Why the man of appetite will not be citizen? Rest two will be citizen, but here this person will not be a citizen.
yes.
I think
So
that is the
they
major
will
thing.
they will permanently constitute an aggrieved class of people and they will resent against the ruling class and the philosopher king, even the soldiers. This is the situation. So how can the organic nature of the state would last and endure? It will collapse. The very purpose of Plato's ideal state is defeated then. This
Okay,
is the
sir.
logical fallacy.
Next, so here, student, we need to understand that in my initial presentation, it was not about the logical inconsistency. It was all about the practicality of Plato's political ideas today. So my presentation was on that. And now what Guru Sir is saying, Guru Sir is showing the logical inconsistency that is within the model of
Yes,
Plato's political
Plato.
model, republic. So I think these two things are very important. Logical inconsistency is dealt by Guru Sir, and the practicality, right? The issue of practicality, I used it in my presentation. Okay, moving to
Yes.
the next group.
Yes. Then next aspect to be
Philosopher King.
critical is not philosopher king. We're not ending with the state even. The next is composition of Plato's ideal state. Population, the population aspect in between citizens and the subjects. These are the two categories of people he identifies. What is the defect with it?
Gupta sir.
Sir, in Platonic concept of state, Plato describes a rigid caste system, sir, where individuals are assigned a fixed role and undermine the individuals from around
Caste
development.
system, where do you get the word caste system in Plato's
Sir,
ideas and
a
concepts?
type of rigid caste system, sir,
No
where
caste system. It is class
class
system.
system, sir. Sorry, sir,
Yes.
class system. Yes, sir. Where the class of appetite is undermined and they are returned from the around development. So, can
Mm.
we implement in a democratic country like Bharat,
No, so
or
then
can we
can we
consider it?
implement? You are coming to practicability of this concept. We'll
Then,
discuss.
sir,
We shall discuss it later on.
then
First, tell me the logical inconsistencies or incoherence or vagueness involved in his thought.
then he has given an
So
idea
far
of
as these
discrimination,
two
sir.
classes of people are concerned, the citizens and the subjects, he
Sir,
classifies the total population into these two categories.
sir, Plato
Citizens,
has
the body of citizen is composed of the rulers and soldiers, the upper two
sir,
classes, and the total body of the subject is composed of the members of the producing class. These are the two categories of people he classifies
uh,
as members of
then
his state.
yes, sir. Then
And what he
we
does, for the citizens only, he designs and prescribes a scheme of communism and a scheme of education. These two schemes are designed by Plato. For whom? For the citizens, not for the subjects.
but sir, before providing them education, how can we identify them? They are the class of reason and spirit.
Yes,
Plato has
that is the
described
defect.
nothing regarding that.
That is the defect with Plato.
Yes,
He
sir.
debars the members of the producing class, which is a majority, which is composed of a majority of population.
Yes.
That producing class is debarred from education.
Then can you say that,
It is
sir,
debarred
Plato
from
has given an
education.
idea of
No system of
discrimination?
education, no scheme of education is designed or prescribed by Plato for the members of the producing class. He
Sir,
is exclusively
then
concerned with the citizens and their education. So therefore, his system of education is illiberal. It is not a
yes, sir.
universal scheme of education. It is an illiberal scheme of education. It is a partial scheme of education.
Yes, sir. Then, sir, can you say that
This is the
Plato
defect. This is the defect.
has idea of discrimination?
Normally, the scheme of education ought to be universal for all members of the state. But
Yes, sir.
it deprives the members of the producing class and their children from being educated. So
Sir,
this is, yes.
firstly, he has deprived the producer class from the education. And sir,
Mm,
he has not mentioned any scheme to
mm.
recognize the region, class of region and spirit class to provide them education. He has only
No,
said that
he has a
education will
scheme
be
of
provided.
education. He has the scheme of education, though the scheme and the subjects or topics he includes are vague.
Yeah, yes,
He
sir.
says
That is
music,
what I am
he
trying to
says
say.
gymnastics, he says elementary sciences, so far as the scheme of primary education is concerned, or first stage of education is concerned. For the second stage, what he says, topics like mathematics,
Sir,
topics like
yes,
philosophy, topics like dialectics, these are to be taught to the students.
yes,
So all these subjects and topics that he mentions are vague. It's not concrete in prescribing us a complete syllabus, a courses of study as to how the education of even the citizens, the rulers and the soldiers will proceed.
yes.
So his scheme is vague. And at the same time, for the members of the ruling class or for the rulers of his ideal state, he designs a scheme of higher education where the subjects are philosophy and mathematics. And what is written on the door of his academy? There was a statement that anyone who doesn't know mathematics need not enter into my door. So mathematics is given topmost importance there. Philosophy is given topmost importance there. Dialectics or logic is given topmost importance there for training the future rulers, men of reason. And what will be consequence? They will be men of philosophy, men of speculation, men of contemplation, not practical individuals. So Plato's scheme of education will not produce practical rulers who will conversant with ground realities of life of the people of the society. It would only produce philosophers, men of wisdom or knowledge who have no roots so far as the ground realities of life are concerned. They would be imaginary, speculative. These individuals will be produced as rulers of the state through the scheme of education. So on one hand, we note that this is an illiberal scheme of education. At the same time, it is a scheme of education which will produce only men of speculation or philosophy as the rulers of the state. What about his scheme of communism, which he prescribes for the citizens? Yes. What do you find? What defects do you find here so far as communism is concerned? For communism, what he does? He first abolishes property and family
Sir, for
in the
that there
life
is
of the
another group.
future
Sir,
citizens.
for that, sir, I understand this. All these components are interrelated.
Yes.
One defect leads to another defects, but for that there is another group. So I think I need to ask Jitendra, who is, I mean, according the way you have taught the students. So next is to the state you talked about philosopher king. So I am.
But in critical estimation, I will come to philosopher king and his government later on as conclusion.
So right now, should I call to communism?
Yes, communism.
Okay, communism. Barsa, are you there?
Sir, Barsa is not present.
Then you do that.
Yes, sir. Sir, Plato says that
You unmute. You
property.
unmute your video.
What is the philosophical basis of Plato's scheme of communism? Tell me first, so that you can understand the defects therein.
So first, let us hear her, because they are already nervous, and if you will put such type of question, they will be more nervous. Okay, Bandita, you start. Whatever you have prepared.
Sir, Plato said that the property and wives or the families are the main stumbling block in the welfare of the state.
Yes.
Welfare of the state means the philosopher king cannot work properly if these two are present.
Not only philosopher king, all his citizens, all members of the
Yes, sir.
ruling class, all members of the military class. It is for them that he has prescribed a scheme of communism.
Yes, sir. Sir, so my question is that from my point of
You
view,
tell me your observation. You tell me your judgment, your opinion.
sir, but I think that property can be considered as reward or motivation for him. Sir, so there, if is there any chances of losing interest?
You see, he has prescribed a scheme of communism by way of abolishing private property and family in the life of the citizens, the rulers and soldiers,
Yes, sir.
including the philosopher king. He has abolished it. Why?
Yes, sir.
Why he has abolished property and family? Understand
Sir,
it. Why?
if
To
there
make
is
them
property,
selfless.
then he can be corrupted.
These two institutions, property and family, are appetitive institutions.
Yes, sir.
They will help in fomenting appetite, increasing
Yes, sir.
appetite. Appetite makes the individual selfish. So if the individual would be allowed to have property and family, he will tend to be more and more selfish in his thinking and activities.
Sir, just have a pause. I have a very interesting question here. Now,
Mhm.
if uh, the citizens are men of reason and men of spirit, then
Yes.
naturally they will not be attracted by the appetite. If they will
Yes, that is
not be
what
attracted,
that is what I intend to focus. That is the logical inconsistency in him.
exactly. So did you get Bandita? I mean, if I'm a man of reason, if I'm a man of appetite, then I will not be attracted by, sorry, man of reason and
Yes.
man of spirit, then I will not be attracted by this appetitive institution called family and property. And if I
If
am not, if I will
yes,
not be attracted, then why communism will be imposed on us? It
yes,
is
that
natural
is
that
yes.
I will not be attracted. It
That is
means
the
if it is
that is the
imposed,
logical defect.
okay, if it is imposed on me that you may be corrupt, it means that Plato was not believing that I am guided by the reason or
Yes.
spirit. Plato is suspecting maybe Himanshu will be guided by the appetite. So let's take property and family from Himanshu so that he can be a selfless ruler. On one
Yes.
hand, Plato is saying that I will not be attracted by appetite. On the other hand, Plato is doubting that philosopher king or the soldier class, they may be attracted by the appetite institution, uh, may be attracted by the appetite. This
Yes.
is contradictory in Plato's
Contradictory. Plato involves himself in logical inconsistency and self-contradictions. When he abolishes property and family in the life of his citizens, including the philosopher king.
Bandita, did you get it?
Yes, sir, I get it.
And what is the
Got it, no?
contradiction here? On one hand, he says that they are men of reason and spirit, selfless. These are the natural gifts of nature. At the same time, he is
He's
afraid
doubting,
that even his
doubting.
selfless persons, men of reason and spirit, will be distracted by the institution of property and family and become selfish. Which one is correct then? Is
But
his philosopher king so weak? He is man of
no,
highest
sir.
reason. If he considers him as the man of highest reason and therefore man of highest selflessness, how he is expected to come under the evil influences of appetite if he is allowed to have property and family? Is he weak? Are his citizens weak? Are his soldiers weak psychologically?
No, sir.
That does he present us, therefore, a weak picture of the citizens, including the rulers and soldiers?
Sir, I think on this point, it's a very interesting point.
Very
I
interesting.
mean,
And this is the
so
greatest logical inconsistency of Plato. Greatest logical inconsistency.
you are
Which,
expecting and you are doubting.
yes, on one hand you say something, at the same time you contradict it.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, then I have to
So
move to the edge.
his abolition of property and family from the life of the rulers and soldiers or his citizens is therefore conveys us his logical inconsistencies, self-contradictions.
It was not at all necessary for him to expose it that communism of wife and property should be there in case of citizen. I mean, let it be there because they will not be attracted by that.
Yes.
Okay, sir, let me go to the next
Ye-
group because
No,
time
no,
is
no, no, no.
approaching.
Yeah, no, no, no. Then it continues even further.
Okay.
He abolishes property and family. Yes, let us accept. And what he does, he prescribes for them a scheme of communism of property and communism of family, communism of wives. Communism of property he prescribes. They will be paid from state funds, clothed from state funds, they live in state houses. So they have no property, but they will be provided property by the physical necessities of life by the state. What does it mean? They will become lazy,
Licenses.
indolent. They will be indolent persons, very lazy persons. They will be parasites of the society because they do not work, but they eat. They enjoy life. They enjoy all advantages of life, physical necessities of life, but they do not work. They do not produce.
But I
Producing
don't agree
function.
with you, sir. Sir, I don't
Why?
agree with you. I mean, men of reason and men of spirit, they simply don't sit. They work in their respective sphere.
But they do not
But
produce.
why
If you
they
do
will
not
produce?
produce, if you do not produce, if you take the products of others, you are a parasite then.
Sir, this production, the function of production is belonging to the man of appetite. So
So
men of
what?
reason and men of spirit, they are working in accordance to their ability and the needs of the nation state. And why the state will support them? See, state is not supporting them to enhance their economic development. State
But
is just supporting them so that
what
they
will
will
be
be
the
alive.
consequence? What would be the likely consequence? They will refrain from doing the physical work. They will
Okay,
be parasites, therefore. They will be
they'll be
lazy, very
physically,
lazy individuals.
but, but yes,
They will
I
develop the
agree on this.
tendency. Yes.
Sir, I agree on this point. If you will say that this philosopher, I mean the man of spirit and man of reason, subsequently they will, they will be
Yes.
attacked by many diseases,
Yes.
because since they are
Certainly.
not doing any kind of physical labor, I
Yes.
mean doing physical labor is also related with your mental development, and
Yes.
it also related to the spirit, right? If I will not do work, then it may have adverse impact on my mind, on my spirit. I agree on that. I
And
agree on that.
what about the scheme of communism? He deprives these citizens of family, but prescribes for a scheme of communism of wives. It is an uncivilized concept for mankind. This concept of communism of wives is an unthinkable concept. It
And no
will,
emotion, no emotion
yes,
for wife and no emotion for children.
where the individual is considered to be a puppet, a lifeless puppet without any emotions. He has no choice so far as his occupation is concerned. He has no choice even in his private life of, producing children. He has no role to play there. Everything is to be decided by the state. So what type of citizens he envisions? Puppet, lifeless entities. And moreover, the scheme of communism of wives is an uncivilized concept. Nowhere in any civilized society we come to note or we may think of communism of wives or communism of husbands. And moreover, what about the common children? They are common bastards. They have no father, no mother to care. They are deprived of paternal affection, motherly love. How can they grow? Their development of their faculties would be adversely affected. They are devoid of affection and love. They are common bastards. They are subject to common neglect. And therefore, these schemes of communism of wives, communism of property, abolition of family, certainly is a concept which strikes at the growth of human civilization and culture.
You are saying it is inhuman and unsocial.
Yes, yes. And he completely ignores the the moral aspects of family and property. He completely forgets that family is a moral institution, property is a moral institution. This is the defect, this is fallacy with Plato. Yes, come to the next. Concept
Okay,
of
education.
justice.
Na,
Concept of
education,
justice.
education darkar nahi sir.
Education we have already covered. That it is a
Okay,
liberal scheme and it is
okay.
a non-universal scheme.
Concept of philosopher king,
The,
sir. Justice will be
the
next.
concept of justice first, then we'll end with the concept of philosopher king and government.
Okay, concept of justice. Singo, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good
Uh,
evening,
you,
sir.
Good evening. You unmute your video, then you start your critical evaluation on Platonic justice.
What defects do you find here?
Sir, according to the theory of justice, a person has to do a single work only for a lifetime. He can't change his profession. So, can we say that the overall development of a person is not possible?
No, what is the defect with his concept of justice? Tell me first. Whether it is possible or not, that is a different dimension of your question, or a different dimension of analysis. What is the defect with
Sir,
Plato's concept
he
of
has put,
justice? What is the drawback? Yes?
sir, he has
Is
put
it
less
justice in the
emphasis
true
on.
sense of the term? You answer my questions. Is it justice in the true sense of the term? Yes or no? What is your judgment? Is it justice?
No, sir.
Plato's theory of justice cannot be called a true theory of justice. Justice is not specialization on functions. Justice is
Yes.
not non-interference in the functions of one another. Generally, by justice is meant rule of law, equality before law. This is what is meant by justice. But
Yes,
in
sir.
Plato's concept of justice, there is no concept of rule of law, supremacy of law, or rule of law. Rather, what he says, Plato's concept of justice champions the principle of functional specialization and principle of non-interference. Who decides the functions? The philosopher king.
Philosopher king.
The philosopher king decides the functions of all members of the society.
Yes, sir.
He is the topmost decision maker, and whatever decisions he makes, he imposes ruthlessly over the people. And people are required to render unquestioning obedience to his decisions. This is what the consequence of Platonic justice is. Therefore, Platonic justice, we may criticize it as totalitarian and authoritarian. It is a totalitarian concept. It is an authoritarian concept. It is a totalitarian concept. Why? Because the philosopher king, by way of giving occupations or deciding the occupations of all members of the society, interferes in the life of every individual, in all aspects of individual's life. There is no privacy for the individual. There is no choice for the individual in selecting the occupation of his life. Everything is decided by the philosopher king and imposed upon the individuals. So it is a totalitarian concept. And because there is imposition, it is an authoritarian concept. If you do not obey, you will be punished. Unquestioning obedience is required or demanded. Every member of the state must obey the philosopher king and his decisions without questioning him. So Plato's theory of justice is a totalitarian theory. It is an authoritarian theory. Now come to his concept of philosopher king and government. Next.
Sir,
Because of shortage of
what
time,
is our
I'm skipping a number of points for discussions.
sir,
Okay,
function of
good.
an individual will be
Yes.
what's our function of an individual would be decided on his predominant soul. So
Yes,
how
এটা
can it
decide করবা
just
সে predominance হচ্ছে কি না হচ্ছে কে decide করবা, who will decide?
sir,
Philosopher king.
education has been
Everything is to be
described.
decided. Yes.
What sir,
Who is to
education
No,
decide?
scheme has been described.
Sari is telling that though Plato has mentioned about education, but he has not detailed. I mean, how education will decide who will be the man of reason and spirit. So it practically means that philosopher king will decide that who are the men of reason, who
Who
are
are the
the
men
men
of
of
spirit?
spirit,
Who are
and
the men of
the rest
appetite?
will be
Everything is decided by him.
men of appetite.
Okay, sir.
So it is a
And
totalitarian concept. It is an authoritarian concept.
justice means rule of law. Justice means handling with the issues of equality. justice means, it's a kind of, uh, liberty, giving freedom to the individual. So these are some of the features of justice. But such features are absent in Plato's, concept of justice. Plato's concept of justice is based on functional specialization, then principle of non-interference, and ultimately a harmonious society. Right. So it hasn't talked about any kind of, issues of equality, issues of liberty, then rule of law. It has not talked about. So that is the internal defects. So
The
let's
next
come to
next
the
aspect to be discussed is Plato's concept of philosopher king and his government.
Jitendra. Jitendra. Jitendra, are you there? Okay, Jitendra, you start.
Hello, sir. Namaskar.
Go.
Namaskar.
Sir, Plato has give four stipulation which is be must be obeyed by philosopher king.
Mm.
Plato does not allow bring any change in scheme of education and scheme
What
of
are the defects? What are the defects so far as
sir
Plato's government
scheme
is
of
concerned?
justice.
Headed by the
Sir,
philosopher.
scheme,
Yes.
sir, scheme of justice, scheme of education. And then before he said the philosopher king is the highest man of reason, highest man of wisdom, because he has superiority on the element of reason. They are rational and selflessness. Then how they can Plato either he philosopher king don't did not trust him or any other reason they don't allow to bring change in theory of our scheme of education, scheme of justice and size of territory.
You are to attack his concept of government, his philosopher king, and the government headed by the philosopher king. What defects do you notice here?
Sir, he
Attack it first.
sir,
Yes.
Plato himself not believe in his
What
philosopher
type of
king.
government he has prescribed? What type of government headed by the philosopher king? Do you accept it? Would you like to be ruled by Plato's philosopher king and his government? If not, why?
Sir,
Or you will welcome Plato's philosopher king and wish to be ruled by him? Tell me.
It's a kind of
sir,
That is your
monarchical state.
yes, that is critical analysis. Your
sir, you said
objections.
Sir, you said in previous classes, in appointing a philosopher king, there are no rule
Uh,
of no role of people. They are
yes,
appointed by nature.
yes.
But sir, who get determine the criteria by which selected philosopher kings and the educational system. But again, is the problem is the who will design the curriculum of this educational system and chooses the rulers.
You are missing the exact point for discussions. Do you accept Plato's government headed by the philosopher king? If yes, why? If no, why?
Sir, no,
Answer
because
the question specifically. Don't go to education or communism or his state or no.
Do you
Be
trust philosopher king?
yes.
no, sir, because they
Do
can be
you wish to be
corrupted.
ruled by philosopher king?
No, sir.
No. Why?
Sir, they can be corrupt.
How can he be corrupt?
Sir, here,
There's no question of corruption. He is man of highest reason. How
sir,
can he
man
be
of highest.
corrupt?
But there are lacuna in the his appointing and selection process, sir.
He
There
is
can be
appointed by nature.
possibility,
One who is the man of highest reason makes himself the philosopher king.
sir. But
So, so what is the problem? What is the problem for you?
sir, philosopher king
Yes.
in his educational system, they
फिर education के
are
गलो. You are again
sir,
diverting it to education. You tell me what are the defects
Oh,
of the
okay, okay.
philosopher king?
Let me bring Sriya Pradhan. Sriya Pradhan, are you there? Sriya Pradhan. Sriya, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, you unmute your video, then you tell your points.
Sir, namaskar. Sir, interpretation
Oh,
given by Plato on a philosopher king they are not practically realized. They cannot be practically realized.
Fair practically,
I
practical later on aswa. Out a conclusion aswa. Not
Sir,
practically now. You
sir,
find defects.
Sir, that is the problem because he told that the population should be rigid, which is not possible as the
So
appetite
fair
class
practical are
will
kya
grow
socho?
and
You are giving your judgments on practicability of his suggestions. You tell me what are the problems with the philosopher king? What are the defects with him? If you do not like to be ruled by the philosopher king, why? Or you like to be ruled by him?
sir, because no,
Yes.
sir, it is an authoritative rule and also
Plato's
we can
philosopher king is
also
very
say
good. He's man of
autocratic.
highest reason. Therefore, we should be ruled by him. Yes. Yes. You're approaching it to
Sir,
some extent.
but
Yes.
it creates inequality.
Because what is the time again? I'm limiting it. Inequality तो अलगा जिनस ही होला. Plato philosopher king can inequality ना करबार. से the head of the state है. Decision दूचे.
I mean, you were very close. That philosopher king is an autocratic
Philosopher
person.
king is an autocratic ruler. Autocracy, rule
Yes,
by
sir.
oneself. He is authoritarian ruler. His government is authoritarian. His government is totalitarian. His government is anti-democratic. His government is illiberal. These are the criticisms. The Plato's
Yes, sir.
philosopher
I
king
was
is undemocratic. It is an undemocratic ruler. Why? Because the ruler is not elected by the people, not selected by the people, not even nominated by the people.
people.
Yes, he doesn't owe his position as the philosopher
Yes, sir.
king from the people. Government is not based upon the consent of the governed. People have no participation in the decision-making function. Therefore, Plato's philosopher king is an
Yes, sir. This is
undemocratic, anti-democratic ruler. There is no provision for rights. There is no
anti-democratic.
provision
Yes,
for
sir.
liberty. This is the relationship between the state and the individual. Whatever the philosopher king would decide are imposed upon the people ruthlessly. People are bound to obey. They cannot question him. So
So
he's
are you saying that,
authoritarian. He's
sir,
totalitarian.
are you saying that philosopher kings are political
Yes, sir.
idiots?
Not idiots. They're very clever individuals.
Now, political idiots. I mean, they do not know how to manage people, how to
No, no,
bring
no.
support.
They can manage people. They can manage people because they consider people as meek goats, and they are suffered. They are as if they are husbanding a group of innocent cows, sheep. This is the situation. So
But
Plato's
then there is,
philosopher king.
but then there
Yes.
is inconsistency. See, if the
Ye-
philosopher will think that they are the shepherds, then it is not their, moral qualities. I mean, a morally,
Yes.
embedded person should not think that others are.
We criticize him. We criticize him, but we do not conclude as yet. Conclusion would be different. This is a critical analysis. The defects that we perceive. He's authoritarian. He's
And what we
totalitarian.
perceive,
Yes.
that cannot be right.
Yes. Certainly. That is the conclusion.
Okay, Sriya, are you our student in the university?
Yes, sir. I came today, sir. You
Okay,
saw me.
okay,
Sir, I
okay,
was having
okay,
health
It's all
issue.
right.
That's why I was unable to come.
It's
okay.
all right.
So I
So
think,
we must conclude. Yes, we must
uh,
conclude.
so
Most we have noted and we have discerned a number of defects, shortcomings, lacunae, logical inconsistencies, self-contradictions in Plato's political thought concerning his model state, the republic. A number of defects we may come to note. But What I perceive, this is my personal observation. You may have different perceptions. You may disagree with me. But I am to conclude. If I am allowed to conclude, I must say that all our criticisms against Plato's political thought emanate from our ignorance or misunderstanding of Plato's philosophy of life. We do not understand, or we are incapable of understanding Plato's philosophy of life, his concept of human nature. That human soul is composed of these three elements: reason, spirit, and appetite, where the highest element is the element of reason. And that is what Plato says, and he rightly says so. It is reason, the rational faculty, which is the distinguishing attribute of a human being in the true sense of the term. It is this element of reason which issues forth in conscience in the individual, enables the individual to make a distinction between what is good or bad, what is right or wrong, what is just or unjust, what is praiseworthy or condemnable. It is that element which distinguishes us as human beings from the rest of the animate creations, the beasts, the plants. So if we accept with Plato, if we accept Plato, we may disagree, we may reject his fundamental assumption, but if we accept that reason is the highest element of the soul of the individual, then certainly reason will guide all human activities and endeavors. Similarly, in the state, the man of reason must be the ruler. Man of highest reason must rule, must govern. Only he is able to make decisions concerning what we should do, what we should not do, in the context of making of public policies. And that is the reason why we find that if a society is not ruled by men of reason, men of wisdom, the consequence would be prevalence of widespread selfishness and corruption in the society, and degeneration and decline of the society. That is what we find today. Almost all the societies of this world are declining very fast because men of wisdom, men of philosophy, men of reason are not the rulers. Therefore, Plato is right, logically speaking, in combining men of reason with men of power. Political power, the decision-making power, must be entrusted to the men of highest reason, so that public policies and governance may be undertaken for the good of the people of the society as a whole. And society
Sir,
will be free
sir,
from
so far,
corruption and selfishness.
sir, so far as the purpose of Plato is concerned, it is all right.
Yes?
But the means, Plato adopted
Yes.
to bring that purpose is deeply
Yes, yes.
problematic.
Certainly, certainly. We may not emulate and approximate the model of a state, but we must eulogize, we must
See,
accept
but
and praise
one thing
his
that is
philosophy
good
of
that
life.
if
Yes,
one thing that is that if rationality should guide, then philosopher king should do whatever he is expected to do. But
yes,
we
certainly,
cannot say that philosopher kings are corrupt because
certainly.
he is the
Philosopher
master
king
of
can
rationality.
never become corrupt. Philosopher king can never become corrupt. Theoretically speaking, philosophically speaking,
Hence,
because he is the
hence
man of
the
highest reason.
and hence the regime cannot be authoritarian. Regime cannot
Yes,
be totalitarian.
yes, certainly, because he does not rule on the basis of appetite, but rules on the basis of reason.
Will you say
Therefore,
that this is a democratic?
his rule can never be autocratic, can never be
Sir,
authoritarian,
sir,
can never be totalitarian, can never be undemocratic.
sir.
Can you say that it is a
Philos-
democratic system?
Yes, certainly. What do you mean by democracy?
By the people, for the people, of the people. Here,
Liberty.
for the people is
No,
satisfied.
the essence of democracy is liberty of the individual. And in Plato's state, there is complete scope for enjoying and exercising liberty for the individual, rather true scope for the individual. That is what I feel. Because what does
Sir,
he mean by
sir,
liberty? We are
Sir,
giving a
But
wrong perception.
this
We are having a
liberty
wrong
is based.
perception of liberty.
This liberty is based on the class character of that individual.
No, it is. It pertains to every individual of the society, not even classes. Every individual is given scope by Plato to enjoy his liberty to the greatest extent. And what is liberty? Liberty is not listening to the desires of appetite or the desires of this physical body. Liberty consists in obedience to your reason, your rational faculty, because that is your true essence as a human being. If you
But what
obey
is
your
liberty,
reason, you are free.
sir? What
If
is
you,
liberty to man of appetite? What is liberty to man of spirit? And what is liberty to man of reason?
yes, every individual must obey the reason. Reason represents, which is represented by the philosopher king. The philosopher king is a man of highest reason. He decides. Therefore, if you obey him, you are completely free. If you disobey him, you obey your selfish desires, and therefore you are in bondage, not free. And that is and Rousseau gets this cue from Plato, and he designs his scheme
General
of
will.
general will,
General will.
distinguishes between real will and ideal will, actual
Uh,
will and real will.
real will now. Okay, Jitendra, you want to say something?
sir, sir, you say philosopher king are the highest man of reason. But
Yes,
sir, Plato, why deny for four stipulations to them, philosopher king?
because it will create difficulties in governing. Larger population cannot be governed. He is aware of it.
Sir,
Very smaller population is also very difficult to be. It is not self-sufficient. It will not make the state self-sufficient. Therefore, he must control the size of the state. He must control the size of the territory of the state, population of the state as well. And he must implement the theory of justice or concept of justice. He must not bring any change in the scheme of education. These are the foundations of his state. You may agree, you may disagree, you may reject the details of his state. But we
So,
must accept his philosophy of life. And that is why, unless political power and wisdom are combined in one, contemporary states will never be free from political selfishness and corruption.
sir, are you saying liberty means obeying the philosopher king?
Yes, because he represents highest reason.
So liberty means the highest realization of your morality or rationality.
Yes, certainly.
Okay, Jogesh Kumar Tripathi, you have raised your hand. Yes, Jogesh.
Thank you, sir. My question was, sir, as you know, sir, philosopher king was a man of reason, highest man of reason. But, sir, being sound in administrative or being sound in knowledge is, sir, very rarest combination of the traits, sir. Sir, why I am saying
Yes,
it, sir?
you
Because
may criticize
just
him
because you are
so
a
far as
philosopher.
practicability is concerned. Yes, philosophically, it is very difficult to criticize Plato. But practically, you may reject him. You may say, this is not good. This is not a good model at all for emulation and approximation. But philosophically, we cannot reject Plato. Therefore,
Theoretically, we cannot reject. Practically, we may reject it.
yes, so far as the question of practicability is concerned, practicality or practicability of Plato's model is concerned.
I mean, the means has not been
Yes,
cleared.
yes, I would like to say, this is my perception again, that we are not fair, we are not just in criticizing Plato's model as unpractical, unpragmatic. We are not just. Why? Because Plato himself says in his book, The Republic, that he is conceptualizing and designing a model of state not on the basis of their implementation or development of actual states, He's essentially and exclusively concerned with what a state ought to be. He's not at all concerned with what a state is. This is his admission. If we keep his admission in view, how can we criticize that he is unpractical, unpragmatic? It is not fair to criticize him. He himself admits that he is not practical. His model is not meant for practical implementation. He is only concerned with what a state ought to be, not a state what is. So when he himself admits, it is unfair to criticize him or his model as
So you are
unpractical,
saying that
unpragmatic.
Plato is closing the door of criticism.
Yes, certainly. And he gives us a model state, a vision that may be an utopian model. Yes, we must accept it.
But that
We
is
may
a
not
reference
implement it.
point. The state,
Yes,
I mean, state in empirical sense must
yes.
refer to the ideal state of Plato.
He gives us a model state. And
And
that
calls it the
model
ideal
state
state.
stimulates our
Sir,
intellect. And it has stimulated the intellects of subsequent generations of thinkers and scholars. And it will continue to do so till human beings lives on this earth. Even if it is an utopian model, it has a tremendous impact or importance on the intellect of mankind. So long as human beings would live on this earth, Plato would give us the beacon light in designing models of our political existence and political arrangement. That is the objective
So,
for which we must be grateful to Plato. And that is the reason why Plato is universally acknowledged not only as the first political philosopher, but also the greatest political thinker of the world. With this, I conclude my observations.
I mean, he has provided an ideal state. I mean,
Yes,
today
a
the nation
model,
state must
a
refer
model to think,
to
a
that.
model to think, a model to develop, a model to recast.
I mean, today nobody will object the purpose of ideal state of Plato. But yes, people are critical about the means adopted by the Plato, and Plato himself said that it is not practicable. I mean, you take the purpose and you think about your own means to achieve that
Yes,
purpose.
certain,
Right.
certain. And there
So
lies his
thank you.
greatness.
So thank you, sir. I think that's how we concluded Plato.
Yes,
Uh, we engaged the Plato's political thought in 8 classes, right? 8 classes means it's not 8 hours. There are, if you include all the discussion, it will be more than 12 or 13 hours, right?
yes,
So on Plato's political thought, we spend 12 to 13 hours, and sir will not take any classes from America onwards, and maybe from the 1st December start. Sir will come to the class and he will start, Aristotle. So in a physical, mode. So on behalf of the political science department, I am thankful to Professor Guru. I mean, as a discutant, he clarified many things, and in his critical estimation, he introduced the logical inconsistency in the model of Plato. And in my earlier critical estimation, I gave a picture how Plato's political model is impracticable. It is not practical. So there are two ways of dealing with Plato's political thought critically. One is you can deal with what are the logical inconsistency in Plato's model. That is the first aspect of critical estimation, and the second aspect is the practicality issues of Plato's model. So that's how you need to write in your exam. If a question will ask critically analyze the Plato's political model republic, then you should analyze in such a way. I mean, logical inconsistencies and issues of practicalities. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was really wonderful experience with you. and I hope that our student will be benefited, and very soon you will meet our students physically. So
Yes.
with this, I am ending this recording.
Yes, I would like to take the opportunity of this web platform to thank the students and listeners who have listened to my discussions with great patience. And because I call it great patience, because I'm discussing the abstract, not the actual. So it needs patience, it needs attentiveness. You can understand the philosophy of thinker provided you yourself become a philosopher. You will think, and then only you can understand. Therefore, I appreciate the patience of my students in listening to the abstract discussions on Plato. And I hope on listening to my discussions, my students have been benefited in the context of clarification of the doubts, in the concept of clarification of the concepts of Plato, his notions. And if at all they are benefited, I would think that my endeavor is amply rewarded. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm stopping the recording.
Yes.